Hi, my name is Dave Reske, CEO of Now Speed Marketing, and welcome to this edition of Marketing in the Now, where we talk about the best ideas in marketing. And my guest today is Alicia Williams. She's the co-founder and creative director of Aliste Marketing. Let me pronounce that correctly. And she's also acted as a fractional CMO and as a professional speaker in her spare time. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, David. Really appreciate being here.
Sure. So excited to talk to you about your experience in marketing and in other areas. And fun fact, you live in Northborough, Massachusetts, and I also lived in Northborough many years ago for about 8 years. And what a nice town and an amazing community. How do you like it?
I grew up in this area. The business is based in this area. Everyone leaves and comes back to the area, so it's New England.
Yeah, it's so cool. So yeah, but glad to connect with you on this. You and I have been talking about the issue of building community. And, I was thinking about that, and it's really ironic that in an age where we have more communication tools than ever, I think every day I need to check at least 8 different systems to get messages from people, right? But people are feeling more and more disconnected and more isolated than ever, in spite of having more and more ways to connect with people. So the question you and I have been wrestling with is, how do you find, for business people, how do you find a business community that you can rely on? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's so many different ways, and my background has always been marketing. It's always been communications. It's always been talking and storytelling. That's what drives me forward in the work that I do. And I built my business on networking, meeting people, talking and understanding what their struggles were, what their business does. And what so many of these networking communities do and do really, really well is focusing on networking for business growth. And how do you pass business? How do you share partners? How do you get referrals? And that has been huge in being able to expand my offering as a marketing person, right? Like you own an agency as well. You can't be a specialist in everything. So having the network and the partners to pull in on projects is massive for yourself and for your clients. But one of the big holes or opportunities that I kept coming across is that everyone is polished in those networking circles. And so when you ask somebody a question of how did they solve this problem, or how are they getting more leads, or is business really doing well, those answers that came back were almost the highlight reel. I call them like glitter on the mirror type of deal. And so what I personally greatly needed was the ability to have that raw conversation with somebody as a business owner and as a marketer to say, this is the dumpster fire that's on my desk. How do I get through this from someone that's been through it? And so I think when you're evaluating networking events or you're evaluating communities, whether it's closed or big or organized or not, being able to find a space where you could be vulnerable in what you're asking is going to help you grow as a professional and as a business owner too.
So what's been your experience in finding those communities? Is that easy to find, hard to find? Are they long-lasting communities? How have you, been your journey in finding a community that you can trust?
It has been a journey for sure, because it's very hard to find those spaces. And when you do, and you kind of fall into that, when I first found one, I was very skeptical. I was like, how is this really going to work? Are people really going to be vulnerable and share? And this one community that it was a female, or it is a female community, um, that was the first eye-opening experience of that there are women out there, there are business owners out there, there are marketers out there that truly do want to share their struggles and help those that are going through it. Um, and that has been something that's a guiding light, keeps me going. The last year, Chris Viscomi, who's my brother, he's my co-founder in Aliste Marketing and also our newer endeavor, is creating a community specifically for marketers to do that.
Hmm.
And the prereq is there is no glitter on mirrors. Like you're here to say what really is going on in your space, in your world. So finding the communities, they're out there, and you have to have those conversations and see what jives for you. For us, we created a community because we wanted one specifically for that need as well.
That's great. And I want to get into that in some more depth. But I love to hear your journey in that. I've also spent a lot of time in business communities. My own experience has really been with the Entrepreneurs Organization with EO. So I've been a member there for like 15 years and in small group forums for all of that time. And I just think it's so important to have a network, but also a small number of people that we you can get together with, share real business and personal issues, and really see how other people have dealt with them. And I like to say that the value isn't necessarily one specific idea or solution you get. It's not like hiring a consultant, but it's more like keeping your head in the game for me, because it's easy as a leader of an organization to get frustrated or overwhelmed or all those feelings, that are difficult. So, let's talk about the negative. What happens to entrepreneurs who don't do this, who just stay isolated and try to do it really on their own? What's the problem with not with if you miss that community opportunity?
Yeah, I think many of us as entrepreneurs experience that problem, that struggle. We work in silos. If you have a team, let's say you're the owner of a larger team, your problems don't bubble down. You're not going to share the struggles that you have, or I can't hit payroll. You're not going to share that with your employees. And if you are the owner, there's no one above you to bubble up those problems. So here you are just thinking and simmering on them. And a lot of people I talk to are like, well, I don't need a community. I have my family, I have my close circle, which is valid. However, they're sometimes too close to you where they know the emotional drivers behind a decision, or they're not close enough and they're just going to give you the surface level, you got this, you're strong, you could do this. Or they're not entrepreneurs themselves, so like their relatability to what you're like, one day you feel like you're soaring and the next day you're like, I'm going to claim bankruptcy, and it could happen in the same day. So that ebb and flow is something that I don't feel like everyone experiences unless you're in that circle. Um, for business owners and entrepreneurs and marketers that don't have that support system, I think the level of burnout is huge. The decision fatigue is massive. Trying to find the creative spark again. And last year was the first time I ever experienced burnout, and I leaned very heavy on one of my partners who's a graphic designer. And I said, I have this idea. It was just like a toy for a kid. And she had said, it doesn't matter if you decide to launch this as a business, just do it. Just start having fun creating the mood board, creating the marketing plan, even if it goes nowhere, to relight that spark and get out of the burnout phase. Without her advice coming into that, that mentality, I would have just tried to push through
Hmm.
versus leaning into what someone was telling me. And I think that's the power of having a strong community of individuals that understand what you're going through.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of the other things that I think about is with a community that I've got is it's the cliche, but you don't know what you don't know. And
Mhm.
so if you're an entrepreneur, maybe like you, that's really excellent at marketing and creative and maybe strategy, you may not understand your blind spots in
Right.
finance, business process, sales process, prospecting, lead generation, technical aspects of managing the business, all these other things. And so when you get with other entrepreneurs, you realize that people have different strengths and weaknesses, and they can guide you into solutions for a whole bunch of areas that you didn't even know you had a problem in or that there were better solutions in, so I think it's incredible. What do you think that entrepreneurs should be doing to look for the community? How did you start your journey to find one? And tell me more about this community that you're building as a potential opportunity for other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of finding a community, you have to vibe with the people in the community. You have to feel safe enough to be who you are and talk about your business and let that guard down. So that's different for every single person. I was part of a golfing community. I was never comfortable because I'm terrible at golfing. So like that was just not a good community for me to be a part of, right? So I think that's a question that each individual has to answer themselves. In terms of our community, one of the really big pieces, it started out, Chris and I have always had a private LinkedIn group with over 4,000 marketers in it. We've used it to talk, used it for strategic partners and business leads. Last year, we started offering these private Zoom calls called decision rooms, and they were specifically meant for marketers to come whenever they wanted and share a challenge that they were going through. It was not meant to be pitching. It was, I need to launch this campaign. Is this the right platform? Or what are the metrics I should be following? The first meeting, one person showed up. By the 10th meeting, we had 40 people showing up. And the conversations were just like, that hour flew by. Everyone felt empowered and excited, and they had answers. And so we knew we had something there. So come over the last 6 months, April, we launched the private community off of LinkedIn, mainly because LinkedIn's not designed to be a community, it's a feed. So this community really allows members to come use resources, be a pressure test think tank for the members, have weekly decision rooms. And the key differentiator, and you brought this up of like the different perspectives, you don't know what you don't know, is that we are not just CMOs. We are not just videographers. We're not just photographers. Because when I bring a problem or a challenge to the call, I want to know what is the crisis PR perspective? What is the publicist perspective? What's the SEO perspective? And now you have like a kaleidoscope of opinions to help you as a marketer push forward or a business owner push forward. And that's been the real differentiator for how the group has grown and supported the members.
A couple of questions on that. Do you think
Yeah.
business groups that are vertically focused, like you've got all marketers in your group, are better or more effective or just important than maybe a business group that's just maybe CEOs who, or people in your similar position? Um, and how do you feel about in-person business groups versus virtual groups? Should entrepreneurs be looking for those in-person opportunities, or are virtual groups just fine?
Yeah, a bunch of questions there. I'll take the last one first, which was virtual or in person. And again, I think that is very dependent on the individual. Like there's many different groups throughout the country and the world. Like there's someone from Australia that would come into our decision rooms. She's not flying here every week to do a live event. I've been a part of in-person events and I've loved that energy. Um, but I've also really loved the virtual because I'm meeting with people or clients all day. So for me to take an hour to go drive to some place, meet for two
Mm.
hours, and drive back, that's my whole day is gone. And then I'm working at night to catch up on the work that I didn't do because I was networking. Versus a virtual is I can log on and I don't ever need to leave. I can book my meetings and talk with people. But I think having a good mix is huge because the energy that you get off of meeting people and their vibe, that doesn't come across in a computer screen. So I don't think one is better or worse than the other. I think you have to do a hybrid kind of approach of that. Or if it's only a virtual, challenge yourself to go meet one person outside of
Mm.
your office. So that's kind of on the virtual side. The idea of a community of just being one specialist, I think it goes into like, what are your goals with the community? And so if I want to just work with CMOs, or if I just want to understand fractional CMOs, I think there's a huge amount of value talking with individuals that are part of what I'm dealing with very specifically. But I may not bring a campaign challenge to them because I want to know what somebody else thinks about the idea, not what another CMO thinks of it. Um, likewise, I look at groups that only one seat is filled per specialty. Again, that could be very lead driven too, right? So there's no competition. The group that we're creating is competition lives at the bottom, partnerships and collabs live at the top. And so we don't limit to only one videographer, one SEO, one marketer, because we truly believe that when we share and there's business out there for everyone, that we can support one another. And we have videographers in the group, and when I listen to them talk about like this is the challenge I'm going through, what is the program that you're running? And that other videographer who's seeing massive success is, have you tried this? Right?
Hmm.
And they're not competing for the same bids, but there's work out there and they're supporting one another. So our group is not limited to one seat per specialty for that reason.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. In the group that I'm in, it we really can't have more than one person per industry. So that allows us to talk about issues with and not worry about the competitive nature. But I can definitely see especially in marketing, where there's so many marketers. I think I just looked at a stat that in the US, there's something like in Clutch, like 125,000
Yeah,
marketing agencies. So the competitive overlap is really rare anyway, right? As you said,
it
there's so much business, and there's a lot of value for understanding, the issues that are there. In terms of relationships, let's just talk about relationships here a little bit. Do you think that it's important for a business group like this to kind of move toward friendship? Or do you think that it's okay to really, you talked about the shallowness of the networking events, and then you have a little more depth with the business groups that you're talking about. Do you think it's important to kind of see that moving toward individual friendships come out of that, or is it okay really to keep it at a business networking group level?
Yeah, I think a mix of both. Some of the members I've known for years and I'm very close with them. Um, but a lot of them is you're respecting who they are as a talented professional. You're keeping them really close in mind when I think in terms of our group, leads and networking is a byproduct of the relationships that you're building and the trust that you're building. Every member that joins our group automatically signs an NDA. So when you talk about competition, like what
Hmm.
is shared in the group stays in the group. And that by nature changes the game and the level of depth of a conversation that you can have. So the conversations, the relationships, the trust that is being shared is like a natural byproduct of that. We have members that are based in New England, we have California, like they're all across the country. And so their relationships with each other are theirs to kind of nurture and foster outside of just the business end of it. But I just think in general, when you're working with partners, you start to really understand who they are, what their families are, and like one of our partners just had his first grandchild. Like you just naturally talk with them because you're working so closely with them on projects.
That's great. And do you build in time for personal sharing, what's happening in each other's lives as well as business issues?
Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up because we always talk about the challenges. But another really key point of being an entrepreneur is the siloed effect or the feeling of not being able to share your wins. Like
Hmm.
there's somebody sitting next to me right now. If we win an award, I could share it on social. I could share it with my family at dinner, but there's nobody that I'm sharing or ringing a bell for.
Hmm.
So we tend to celebrate for maybe an hour, 2 hours, or the day, and then the next day we're right back into like the next project, the next win, the next lead that we're going after. So we carve out time. One, anyone can share their wins throughout the platform, but on our specific calls, we're highlighting wins when they're sharing it on their social, we're resharing it across social as well. Like their wins are ours to kind of boost up as well. So
That's
yeah, it's
so
important to
cool.
celebrate the wins.
You've been doing this for with this new group. Is this brand new? Has it been operating now for a few months, or how long has it been operating?
Yep, so we officially launched the end of April this year. We just finalized our founding circle, 30 members in. Right now, we're opening up a professional tier level. And it's been the level of talent that has come in, the level of conversation and just willingness to support. And some days it's, I have a challenge and they're bringing it forward. And other days it's, I don't have a challenge. I'm here to support whoever does have a challenge. Um, the amount of programs that or new offerings that members have brought to the table and gotten real life feedback and then launched has been incredible. And like we're only talking two months of this so far. We're just getting started. So it's exciting all the conversations that are coming from it.
It seems like that at this particular time, marketing is going through a lot of change with AI, new technologies. I mean, marketing and tech have gone through a
Yeah.
lot of change for the last 20 years, but in particular now, I just see a massive acceleration of change, but also a massive number of new opportunities. And I would imagine that this is the perfect forum for people to share those thoughts, the fears of AI, the opportunities of AI, the new technologies that people are using, and for people to benefit from those conversations. Is that kind of a core part of some of what's going on in these meetings?
Yeah, I think AI comes up in every meeting. But we have several AI specialists in the group as members, and their information that they're sharing, like, I always have my notebook I'm writing down of different AI softwares or different AI prompts or different ways that they're using it in their specific specialty. The trends that are happening. I mean, as a marketer, trying to keep up with trends alone is it could be like 20 hours a week, right? So this space is saying these are all the trends that are happening. This is what we need to be aware of. This is how we can apply it or not apply it. Um, the whole like loom and doom on AI is like, I'll give you 5 minutes to vent on that, but then let's change the conversation. Like, how can we use this to keep us relevant or get ahead on competition or use in our lead searches. And so that mentality and that support is in that group naturally because they're members that's their world
Yeah,
right
that's great. And if we could digress into that for just 2 seconds, what is the mood of the group right now? Do you think there's more energy and excitement about the opportunities, or is it more on fear and foreboding about what could happen because
now.
of the technologies?
Yeah. Definitely not the fear mongering of it. So I think there was like one meeting that it kind of went down that rabbit hole, and I said, okay, we're gonna label this the BAM session, the bitch and moan. For 5 minutes, everyone can vent about how AI is gonna turn the world over or whatnot. But then we're gonna get into solutions because at the beginning of time there were storytellers on caves. And at the end of time, there will be storytellers. And how we tell those stories looks very different from when we were in caves to now. But how we're feeling of like newspapers and then TV and then .com and then, but like marketers have always changed. It's just happening very, very fast right now. And so we really keep it solution oriented, high energy, and the ability to empower. Like I'm not getting leads in this specific market, but I really am seeing trends in this market. What should I be doing? Or this is the offering. Poke holes in it before I launch it. Tell me how else I could approach this. So the amount of new launches that are happening because they are getting vetted peers giving that feedback, they would not have that. They would
Mm.
have to use AI to tell them if it was a good idea, and AI usually tells you what you want to hear. Um, so I think that high vibe, high energy, people are seeing things, for lack of a better, the group is called the Momentum Exchange. And for that momentum part is massive. We are gaining momentum for the work that members are doing.
That's awesome. So we just have a few minutes left, but if you could summarize, the biggest benefits so far in the group in the first few months, how would you kind of describe the big benefits people are getting from being in the group?
Absolutely. So the Momentum Exchange is meant for marketing and communication professionals and senior leaders. The largest traction, one, definitely pressure testing those ideas, dealing with challenges, sharing their wins, getting introductions in our decision rooms. The other really big piece is the frameworks and the resources that are in that platform. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're an in-house marketer, and you need to show the marketing ROI of that campaign, you don't have to create that framework and spreadsheet. It's there. And all of these pieces are vetted by, if this will not help you on your worst marketing day, it doesn't make it in the space. We
Mm.
don't have time for noise. We don't have time for 3,000 articles in a library that you could sift through. It is very intentional of what goes in there. So, um, pressure testing, support, momentum in what they're working on, and then just the matchmaking of peer connections, that's being made naturally too.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you're off to an amazing start with it. And I would just want to ask you, like, what's your vision for this? You've got 30 people in your first group now. Do you want to have 5 groups, 100 groups in a year? How do you kind of see this evolving?
Yeah, so the Momentum Exchange in my mind will always continue to grow. So we have our 30 founding circle that have really shaped what the group is and is going to
Mm.
become. But I envision this growing to hundreds of marketers and communication professionals, and smaller little pods of, like you were saying, your smaller group. We're doing live events, hybrid events, where we're really, this is built by marketers for marketers. And just like the world is ever changing in marketing space, this group will continue to evolve to keep up with what we need in this industry.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to make a difference in the lives of many, many people. We're pretty much out of time, but if people want to connect with you, learn more about you, learn more about the groups, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. I live on LinkedIn, which you could kind of drop that in the comment. And then the website is themomentumexchange.com, and you can go and learn more about it. You can join if you want to kind of see what it's all about. You can join one of our public decision rooms, and you can kind of get a feel for the conversation and the level of energy that's in there.
That's great. Well, Alicia, thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate you describing the group and all the benefits. It sounds like you're off to a great start. And as I said, I think it's going to make a difference in the lives of many people. I think groups like this are exciting because you're making a difference in the lives of leaders who are making a difference in the lives of their family and their relationships and their companies. And the broader impact of this can be massive. So I wish you all the best with that. Thanks again for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me.